Hey there, Cheesemeisters, and welcome back to the Peach Pod After Dark. I am Jeff Clortho, Keymaster of Gozer, Vogel Lord of the Sebelia. Are you the gatekeeper? And joining me on the other end of the internet, my cuz-host.
There is no Leslie, only Zool.
Only Zool. So we're doing Ghostbusters this week, everybody. In conjunction with Season 2, Episode 13, Halloween, because, and I don't think I'm overstating things here, this is literally the scariest movie you could watch. Is that about right?
Pretty much. I mean, Night of the Twisters was scarier for me as a kid.
I don't know what Night of the Twisters is. I'm assuming it's not like Teddy Twisters.
No, oh my god.
That'd be scary.
It was a horrifying film they made us watch in second grade. It's just this family trying to survive a night of Twisters.
I think you might have mentioned this to me.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
I definitely recall going through this. So you're welcome, world, for having to look up this film again. It was...
Well, I mean, it's not nearly as exciting as the movie that we stumbled upon last week when we were looking up movies that that I cannot wait to figure out a reason to watch. But
oh yes,
you guys, we found a movie called What the Peeper Saw.
Oh my god!
And this movie looks wild, crazy, bonkers. So at some point we're gonna watch this nonsense. I have no idea why, but like if you want to, I would say look it up on IMDb. And if you're not immediately sold by looking at the movie poster that is in French, maybe Spanish, I don't know, Italian, it might be Italian. I think it's Italian. Anyhow, then just let the trailer play next to it without turning on any volume, and I think you'll be convinced that this is a movie that everyone should want to see. But that's neither here nor there. But What the Peeper Saw looks amazing.
The point is, I can't do scary movies.
Oh. Yeah, I can't do scary movies. So we couldn't do the obvious thing, which is watch Chucky, because of the Christine Elise of it all. Slightly too scary for Leslie. So we went with Ghostbusters, which gives us the Jennifer Runyon spelling connection, who was Christine in our last episode, Down and Out of District in Beverly Hills. Steve's just god-awful girlfriend. And she is, in this movie, she is a legitimate phenomenon. And, Dr. Venkman wants her to come back sometime this evening, say 8 o'clock. He was just going to say 8 o'clock. So she's in the beginning of this movie as the girl not getting electric shocks.
Oh, thank you. Because I was like, who the hell was this woman?
Yeah, at the very beginning. I'm right in the middle of something, Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's from Ghostbusters. I mean, I don't know what else she's done, but I've always forget, because who cares about Down and Out of District in Beverly Hills? In the general scope of 90210 episodes, it's a big whatever. But when she shows up, I'm like, oh, that's right, she's from Ghostbusters. So Ghostbusters is the 1984 horror comedy straight-up masterpiece, directed by Ivan Reitman, starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Sigourney Weaver, and Rick Moranis, and Zool. I love this movie. I think this is a top 5 comedy of all time. This is like in the top 2 or 3 of things I can quote almost the entire movie of.
Wow, that's true. I have proof of that on my phone.
Yeah, I was texting you lines right before they happened, or right when they happened, just based on knowing that you were watching it.
It was pretty jarring, and then you slipped up because you have a life, and
yeah, I think I had to get gas. It's like had to stop texting you and go to the gas station.
Yeah,
and it screwed everything up. I know, it messed the whole goddamn thing up. So I love Ghostbusters, and for anyone who has not seen Ghostbusters, it's about 3 university professors who are scientists, and they get fired, and they open up a business catching ghosts. Conveniently for them, it's right before the end of the world, so there's lots of ghosts to catch.
Yep.
And they run around New York being really, really funny and catching lots of ghosts.
They pick up another guy.
They do. Well, you have to hire help when you're as busy as they were.
That's true.
And they bring on Winston Zeddemore, who will believe anything you say as long as there's a steady paycheck in it.
Valid. Honestly, very New York of him.
Yeah, he's a pragmatist, to say the least. So, what are your thoughts about Ghostbusters? Because I know that you said you were going to disappoint the world or something.
I mean, I like it. It's
okay.
I'm not as big a fan of it as everyone else is, which is not to say that I don't like it. I see its place in comedy film history. It is funny. But my controversial take is I like the women one better.
Okay. I mean, that's totally fine. Like what you like. The women...
I know they're very different. I mean, they are and they aren't, you know? Like...
Yeah. I thought the women version was fine. It was funny. I enjoyed it. But it funny-wise doesn't hold a candle to this for me. I mean, this is... Literally every scene in this movie has something funny and a quote.
Well, and that I can agree with because I feel like I would have figured this out, but you made the great point and I realized it after the fact. But I mean, everything is written as a one-liner.
Everything. Yeah.
And so you really have to be paying attention because it's all just so subtle. It's almost too subtle. But, you know, I appreciate it. I enjoy it. I love Annie Potts. She's given me some inspiration for, you know, my own personal, like, what to submit myself for in you know, acting gigs. But
I thought you were going to say from the I quit better jobs than this standpoint.
That too. Been there. So I like it. It is... Yeah, I like it. I don't think I need to go further than that. We will go in depth about what we like love or like in this movie. I feel like I have to justify why I don't love it, but I don't. So that's
You don't.
Great.
You can just not love it. That's fine. You can be in this instance wrong. It's fine.
You know who I do love in this movie is I do love Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis is great. He is... I mean, if subtlety is the thing that you think this movie is too much of, then it's too much Harold Ramis because he is the subtlest of subtle in this movie.
Except I needed more Harold Ramis. Like as I'm watching it and wondering why is Bill Murray the stud when it's clearly Harold Ramis. I'm also like, what? These one-liners are great. Why are we not getting more of him?
Right. Yeah.
He is on the whole time. Like he is so... I mean, they all are, but like, and maybe that is what makes it so great for people who love this movie, because if you watch just one person in the film, you still get an entire experience.
Yeah. I think that's what I love. I mean, it's the interplay between the three of them that is so funny and works so well. And because they're very different characters, you know, like Venkman is like a smartass. He's a skeptic. He doesn't believe any of this shit. He's in it for the chicks, like
of all things.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what job he had. He would be in it for the chicks. Like that's who he is. He just happens to be interested in psychology and parapsychology, but you can tell from the first experiment he's doing with the electric shock, he's not in it just to advance science.
Yeah.
You know, he's using it as a way to like get college girls. And it's working. Like, he's very happy. Ray is a true believer. Like, he's childlike.
Yeah.
But he is open-minded to the world and the world that you can and cannot see. Egon also is open to those things, but Egon's a scientist.
Yes, he is.
Egon wants the empirical data. And the three of them together, the innocent, the skeptic, and the scientist, they just bounce off each other the entire movie. And then they bring in the pragmatist at the end, who is just like there to smoke a cigarette and cash his check. You know, like, he's beat. He's real tired. This job isn't worth what they're paying me.
Yeah.
You know, and that balance is so good that you can't really replicate it. You know, especially because it's written by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, it just has this rhythm to it that you don't find you don't even find in other movies that Harold Ramis has written. Yeah. You know, it's kind of magic in Ghostbusters because of the balance of the people.
Yeah.
Then throw in, you know, a ghost story and special effects and all that other stuff, and you've got like a blockbuster.
I was trying to think of, because when Rick Moranis popped up, I always forget he's in this, but when he popped up, I thought, oh, how cool would it be if this was also in the same universe as Little Shop of Horrors, which for the movie version, it could work. He lives in the end, and I'm like, oh, maybe he's made a lot of money in some other plant, like, not killing machine this time, but maybe thriving. I don't know. So, but I don't know what happens to Audrey, you know.
Right. I mean, the girl he's dancing with at his own party is a little Audrey-like.
Maybe he realized it was time to upgrade to brunettes.
Well, I mean, you know, he was always flirting with Dana, but in the party he's dancing with that tall blonde who is, I'm sure that you don't know this, Casey Kasem's wife.
No, I don't know that.
Yeah, you know Casey Kasem is.
It sounds familiar.
Okay, Casey Kasem was the voice of American Top 40 Radio for 40 years. So all of the countdowns, like the weekly countdown, was Casey Kasem. And he was a very short little dude, and he was married to this giant of a lady. But she was also Mrs. Nick Tortelli on Cheers. So Nick was Carla's husband, ex-husband, and then he married her.
Oh,
so
wow.
And I think it was a spinoff, and I think she was his wife in the spinoff or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and she's just in this movie to dance for about 35 seconds before somebody brought a cougar to a party.
Get that paycheck.
I like it. So let's see where to go with this. All right, there's this thing I've been wondering. So, is ghost busting a good business to get into? And here's why I ask.
Okay.
Because they give us math in this movie. They give us information. They tell us that he paid $4,900 for the car, and it needed shocks, brakes, brake pads, steering wheel. Like, it needed to be entirely replaced. So they spent about $10,000 on that car.
Yeah.
I mean, even going to Earl Shives to get the paint job done cost probably $600 based on what they pulled up in. Yeah. So they spent about $10,000 on this car. We know that the three mortgages at 19%, the interest rate alone for the first 5 years comes to $95,000. So I called a friend who does more math more regularly than I do and did the figuring it out. The amount of money that they borrowed was $100,000. Okay, so they start in the hole $100,000. We know they're paying Winston $11,500 because he says this job ain't worth $11,500 a year.
Oh God.
And that is below the average salary in 1984. I looked it up. It's about 15 grand. So like they're underpaying him. They're even underpaying him for the average salary for a black person in 1984.
Oh
no. Winston is getting jobbed. So, and they also have Janine. So between the two of them, you figure they're probably on the hook for about $50,000 a year salary and benefits, right? Because you got to have health insurance and all that kind of stuff. So, like, they're already like that is eaten $50,000, $10,000, $60,000 of the loan is already spent.
Damn.
Right? And that doesn't include the building, which is admittedly pricey for a unique fixer-upper opportunity.
Yeah.
None of the nuclear accelerators that they had to design and build. Yeah. And they had to at least have 4 of them. They had to build the containment unit. Their electric bill had to be just insane.
Insane.
And we know what they charged, right? Because in the first job, they did $4,000 for trapping the ghost, but they were having a special, just $1,000 for containment. And so they make $5,000 a job for an easy job like that. And we saw them get a lot of work, but they were getting a whole lot of free repeaters. Right?
Yeah.
Like they even said it. So add to that the city of New York was fiscally insolvent for the 70s and much of the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they didn't get paid when they killed Zool.
Oh.
Which I think is maybe a plot point at the beginning of Ghostbusters 2.
Okay.
Because I think they're basically closed down, in part because the city stiffed them. But if they hadn't started this business like 6 weeks before the apocalypse, Ray would have lost the house. I mean, like flat out, the house is gone.
Yeah.
And none of them survived this endeavor.
No.
But with good timing, they still managed to run an incredibly unprofitable business.
Like many New York businesses.
Yeah, I mean, like they look, they were the only ones in the market.
Yeah.
No one else could do what they do. It was timed perfectly. They had a great logo.
Yeah.
They had a great business name. Their transportation was branded and visible. Like they had positioned themselves. They were getting lots of free news coverage. Larry King's talking about them. They're getting interviewed about Elvis. People on the street, they're doing stand-up spots for the nightly news about the Ghostbusters. Everything breaks their way.
Yeah.
And I'm still pretty much sure they're broke.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking if this is at all a profitable business, it's only profitable in a city as big as New York, as old as New York. Like all the big historical cities,
mm-hmm.
you might be able to make a living. But they're kind of starting out like a new pizzeria in New York City. Like, except there are a ton of pizzerias and there's only one Ghostbuster site.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they could, like, he's right. The franchise rights alone could make them millions. But you have to get those set up. And it doesn't seem like that they ever did because Venkman is, as Dean Yeager puts it, more of a game show host. Or no, that's not. No, that's what Sigourney Weaver says. Yeah, that's right. She says, "You're not like a scientist," and he says, "Yeah, they're pretty stiff, aren't they?" And he's like, "You're more like a game show host." So yes, he's more like a game show host, but he's also kind of like a used car salesman. He's a hustler. He's a marketer, which is why they have all those other things in place. But he's not, I don't think, a businessman. Like, he has PhDs in parapsychology and psychology. He doesn't have an MBA from Wharton.
he also isn't going to use his charms on people who don't deserve it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's very much being himself in scenes like, "Sir, it's true. This man has no dick." Like, he's not trying to get on anyone's good side. He knows what his business's worth is, but he's not going to take the time to explain it to you if you don't see it.
Right.
Unless you're an attractive woman.
Yeah, well, no, then I mean, he's not even going to sell the business. Then he's just going to sell him.
That's true. They hate
That's
when
right,
I do
that. It's Dr. Venkman. Yeah. Yeah, no, he's very much forward. He's Venkman forward. But he doesn't even bargain with the banker. He takes 19% on 3 mortgages. It's like he's not a good businessman. So I think that they have real trouble sustaining in year 2. Plus, I think Lewis is right. The superintendent's going to be pissed. I think there's a good chance that the superintendent tries to come for the Ghostbusters for damages.
But by the end, they have a tax man.
They do.
They have someone to do their taxes, so they'll be okay.
Can I tell you that scene is the whole reason you have Rick Moranis in this movie, and he's funny in the earlier parts where he locks himself out, and you know what I did? I got on the ledge and I walked around and I couldn't get in, but so you know what I did? I turned my TV up really loud so that they think there's something wrong with all of our TVs. Like, he's great for that, but it's that bit at the end where, like, he's staggering and he's covered in marshmallow, which is how Canadian Dan Aykroyd says it. It's like the one time you can tell he's Canadian, as he says, "Marshmallow Man."
Oh, I missed that.
It's one of those things. You see it like a million times and you suddenly hear him go marshmallow. But he looks at Lewis and says, you have been a participant in the greatest interdimensional cross rift since the Tunguska blast of 1909. And Rick Moranis goes, "Felt great."
Yeah, we need bits of your brain.
Okay.
Who does your taxes?
Yeah, and then who does your taxes? Like, he's so funny. But yeah, who does your taxes kills me. Like, it just, like, he has a party and invites clients instead of friends so that he can write it off as a business expense and tells the people there that that's why he invited them. Like, yeah. This guy's amazing. And he's always on the accountant grind. So, yeah, who does your taxes is wonderful to me.
You mentioned last week a friend of yours bringing up a query.
Yes.
I don't know if we need to save that, but I'm curious. I've been itching to hear what this is. I think I know, but I want to know.
Yeah. So he didn't pose it as a question. He posed it as a statement of fact for him. So, or not a statement of fact, but he was curious as to this, but he already knew his own answer. Okay. So let us, because as Egon says, Zool is whatever it wants to be. Yes. Right? Like, it's a chick, it's not a chick, whatever. Zool is whatever it wants to be. And the gatekeeper in this case is female, which I guess the gatekeeper probably always is female. And
yeah.
The keymaster goes into the gate. So anyway. All right. Put yourself in Venkman's position. You're there to to go on a date. Okay?
Yes.
Your date comes to the door looking crazy. Like crazy hot, but crazy.
Yeah.
Okay? Starts speaking in like a real, like, Kathleen Turner 1986 voice. Just real deep and sexy. And very physical and very forward, and is coming on to you in real weird ways, giving you lots of weird vibe. Is the fact that they're possessed a deal breaker?
Yes.
Because Venkman almost goes all the way there. He's like, I should. I mean, like he has a rule never to get involved with possessed people, but it's really more of a guideline than a rule.
Of course.
So, like, does it become a problem for you before she's above her covers, or 4 feet above her covers, or does 4 feet above her covers kind of interest you a little bit? Just the physics of that sounds kind of fun.
Okay, so is it a deal breaker for me, someone being possessed? I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, even if you go that floating in the air thing, I don't know when I'm going to get to try that again. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's okay to be tempted. It's more about how you react to temptation. And thankfully, all he does is kiss her. But even that was kind of weird enough. I was like, we're just going to go ahead into the Adventures into the Sea. This was one of the not great moments. Just because, again, I think if you're going to add that in there, talk about it more. Don't just let Bill Murray do what Bill Murray wants. Yeah, I thought, not incidentally, but I actually thought both of their kiss moments were not good.
Oh, really? Even the one at the end?
The one at the end felt so trite and forced.
Sure.
I mean, even Sigourney Weaver kind of looked like, all right, this is the end of the film, and this is what we're supposed to do, and he's coming towards her more than she... Like, they're doing the Hitch 90-10, but it doesn't look good.
Wait, what's that? Tell me what that is.
So in Hitch, Will Smith's character's, a dating coach, love master, and he says the way to go in for a kiss on a first date is 90-10. So you go in 90% and you let her come in the final 10%. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And he goes in the full 100.
Gotcha.
And again, Sigourney Weaver's even if that isn't what she was thinking, it looked like she was just, oh, well, I got saved and you happened to save me and this is the end of the movie now and people are cheering. So naturally they're cheering for us to kiss, even though New Yorkers could give two shits because they don't know what we've done. Right. It's just a weird, incomplete moment.
It's not made any better for you by the fact that they're covered in marshmallow?
No, maybe if it was roasted. Oh, God, now that makes me think of the end of the menu, and I'm haunted again. If you haven't seen that, don't.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, you're
not. It smells like burning dog hair.
Oh.
Oh, Venkman. Venkman, I'm sorry. That's the other one. He says, I'm sorry. That's the other time you can tell Dan Aykroyd's Canadian in this movie.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, Venkman, I'm sorry.
I did the one other bad moment, the chair creature totally grabs her boobs.
You can see boob. Yes, this is something that I noticed that, so I saw this movie in the theater in the summer of 1984, so I was 8 or 9, and I remember going to see it and loved it, thought it was great. Don't know that I saw it more than 1 or 2 other times after that before I got to college, when everybody did you do Columbia House?
No, I didn't.
Or any, do you know what those are? The Columbia House, 10 CDs for a penny. And
no, I don't know what this is.
Oh my God, this was okay. Yeah, no, I guess you're too young for this. So there were a couple of, Columbia House was one of them, and I can't remember the BMG, I think was the other one. And it used to be a record club, and then a tape club, then a CD club. And they also had a VHS and a DVD version. And the way that it worked was you could choose 10, in this case, DVDs or VHS. I think I started with VHS. 10 VHS for a penny. And then for a year, every month they send you a movie of their choosing, and you either have to return it or you get charged for it and you buy it. And in order to complete your contract, you had to buy 1 or 2 movies over the course of the year.
Oh, okay.
So it's okay, well, I get 12 movies, and I'm going to end up paying for 2 of them. That's the problem is you forget to send a lot of them back, and you end up owning a bunch of movies you never wanted, and you just keep getting I mean, it's a whole fucking scam. But that's how people would like build their collection. And so when I was doing that, I'm sure one of the first VHS and DVDs I got, because of course I did this shit twice, was Ghostbusters. So I didn't watch it really again until college. And even then, you're talking maybe a 25-inch screen, or if someone has a big screen, it's like a 40-inch, but it's not HD yet, so everything's kind of grainy. And so I didn't see this until I'm watching it in college for like the 75th time.
Yeah.
When she turns and the dog monster grabs her, they cut, and then they cut back, and a titty pops out. Yep. I didn't see it in this one, but I have seen it before. I think it depends on the aspect ratio, maybe, of the...
Maybe. You know. That's crazy. I wonder... God, I really hope that was accidental.
I feel like it was. Because it, like... I'm surprised it made it in the cut, you know, but maybe it... Like, that's the other thing. Maybe it doesn't make it widescreen, but when the screen is shorter and taller, then maybe, like, there's part of the boob that makes it in the shot that doesn't otherwise.
Wow.
But I have seen in that scene Sigourney nipple.
Well, so yeah, still goes along with my like, ooh, that's pretty violent intimacy for a comedy.
Yeah.
Weird choice, chairperson.
Yeah.
Again, what a little extra help from someone else can do. But, you know, that's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did really like when Sigourney / the Gatekeeper and the Keymaster finally meet up, and then they have this most dramatic kiss, and it's her on top of him, like holding him in the damsel position. I thought that was incredible. I loved it.
That's so fun. That's great. Yeah. And is there like a music swell there too? I can't remember. I feel like there is.
There has to be. I can't remember, but I feel like there is. It's glorious, and of course it leads to, you know, a very weird question for them, like, oh, they definitely had sex.
They had to have, otherwise you can't open the gate.
Does it help that they were both possessed and could not consent, so they're both in the same position? I don't know. I'm not a therapist.
I mean, I feel like I don't think that Dana and Lewis's relationship will be any weirder than it was before. Because it was already a really bizarre, like, he was kind of, you know, like, he would flirt with her in the hall. Maybe he just kind of also wanted to just be more friends. It's real hard to tell because of the energy he puts out is real weird.
Yeah.
You know, oh, you made a date tonight? But, like, he clearly likes her, and she's like, I can't with this Lewis guy. You know, because she's an artist. You know, she's the best one in her row.
Yeah.
And playing in the symphony orchestra. And dating very pale men.
Oh, yeah. Who was... Oh, it was the villain from Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Oh, that's right. The one that I couldn't even finish.
That's okay. Yeah, he has such a recognizable face, and yet I never know his name.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that guy for sure. Yeah, she's not into Lewis, and she was never going to be into Lewis.
No.
I think the fact that they both went through this thing together makes them... I don't think it changes their relationship at all.
No, I don't think so either.
Which is weird. You think that it, like, two other people who go through that, they usually end up being the couple, right? Like, you bond through the shared trauma of the thing you survived. Like,
yeah,
that's why the girl gets with the guy at the end of all of these movies, because they survived a thing together. Like, it's all amped up. And usually these two would be the ones, because they did as part of the thing they survived, copulate.
Yes.
So you would think that they would be the ones to carry forward, but they're so weirdly matched, which is why it's perfect.
Yeah.
That you never think for a second they're going to get together.
Well, and it's clearly the demons possessing them. Like,
right. Yeah.
Once they leave, that impulse leaves them.
Yeah, but it would be so. I over the weekend we watched Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is the one with Paul Rudd in it. The first one, not the one that just came out, but the one before that. I'd never seen it. I recommend it. I liked it quite a bit. It's not funny. Like it's not funny. It's not like scary drama, but it's just like there's no jokes. Not like this. Not like one liner. But they do a lot of similar things. And there's a lot of great fan servicey callbacks
of course.
to this. And some of them are like they don't even mention them. Like when you go into the house that you go into in the movie, there are books just stacked vertically.
Yeah, no human would ever stack them that way.
That's right. No human being would ever stack books like this. So I mean, it's stuff like there's symmetrical book stacking, but there's also like somebody finds Nestle's Crunch wrapper. You've earned it.
Yeah.
Like it's little shit like that, but it's also big plot points that are interconnected. Yeah. So, do you care if I say a thing that happens in the movie?
Please. I don't know when I'm going to get to see it.
Yeah. So they do a gatekeeper keymaster thing again.
Oh, okay.
Because the stories are connected. Like there's a Zool connection to these two stories. So there's a gatekeeper and a keymaster. And what they do in Afterlife is they make the two adult leads who have gone on dates become the gatekeeper and the keymaster.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which is what they very much didn't do in the first one. You know, so like that's kind of why I like it, because they do these things, but they do them a little differently. Also, it has Carrie Coon in it, and I fucking love Carrie Coon. She's the fucking best.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the best in everything.
Just be with Carrie Coon next time.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. No, she's. I didn't even realize she was in it until like I started watching. I was like, oh, nobody told me. Okay, thanks.
You know, the 80s, and we've seen this in other movies we've watched, either where we talked about it on here or just in our own movie watching history, but like it seems like the 80s was very much a time of unconsensual sex is funny. Like not necessarily violent non-consensual, but very much unplanned and non-consensual. It's like it's treated as a joke. And you know, I'm sure some people then knew or raised an eyebrow at it. I'm glad that a lot of stuff now is, you know, kind of retconning that. And, you know, like you said with Afterlife, having these people have had a connection before, I think it probably would have made more sense if maybe her and Rick Moranis' character maybe had like a moment at the end where, oh, maybe I do like you, instead of, I mean, when they think she's dead, they look at Venkman and go, oh, I'm sorry, buddy. And I'm like, why? He hasn't even gone on a date with her. He does not know her. He will... Oh, look, if he goes right outside New York, there will be 10 different women that catch his eye.
There's hundreds of people dying to abuse him.
Like, you know, not to say you can't still be sad about, like, oh, this person that I had a flutter for, or just feeling bad that someone died. Like, of course you can feel those things, but, you know, a little heavy-handed.
Well, I mean, she was the nice lady who paid them in advance before she became a dog.
Which is impressive for someone who's working in an orchestra.
I mean, but she was, I mean, it's impressive for someone who's a musician. I think someone working for an orchestra gets a steady paycheck.
That's fair. Yes. Okay. So a musician in New
yeah.
York. Anyway, yeah, those are all my adventures in intimacy.
Okay.
It was a good one to dissect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let us walk from Dana Barrett's apartment into Central Park, past the Tavern on the Green, into Needle Drop Forest. So the big song, obviously, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters!
By Ray Parker Jr. Are you familiar with the legal issues surrounding Ghostbusters?
No.
Huey Lewis sued the shit out of Ray Parker Jr.
Oh, no!
Because Ghostbusters is basically, I want a new drug. It's the same song.
Oh, no. I don't know this song. I should have looked this up. Well, I wouldn't have known to, but...
Yeah, it's the same song. They both have the same underlying beat and musicality to them. You could totally sing "I Want a New Drug" over the top of Ghostbusters and vice versa.
Wow.
Yeah, so he sued him and he got paid, which made me feel bad for Ray Parker Jr. because I mean, I'm sure that he was like inspired by it or whatever, but like this is the biggest hit of your life, and it couldn't be any bigger because it's attached to this movie, and like the video for it has like a lot of movie stars from the 80s all doing the "Who You Gonna Call" thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and like "Who You Gonna Call," Ghostbusters, that's not in the movie, that's in the song.
Yeah.
And that is a thing that everybody knows. I think I saw a sitcom this last year where someone asked someone who they were going to call, and the punchline was Ghostbusters, which is like a really weird 40-year-old joke.
Yeah.
Like it's lame and dated at the same time, which is kind of weird. But
I thought of when Casper came out when I was 6, and Dan Aykroyd has a cameo appearance, and of course when I was 6 I had no idea. I knew what he was referencing when he ran down the stairs and said, "Who are you gonna call?" And then of course there's a crash behind him and he looks back and he goes, "Someone else."
There you go.
And it's great. I somehow inherently knew what he was referencing, did not know who he was from Adam.
Sure.
It's like, what a strange guy.
Yeah, why would he do that? But okay. Just come in here and do Ghostbusters jokes? Weirdo.
Shout out to Casper.
Yeah, shout out to Casper, 100%. Yeah, this song was so big. And because the movie was so big and the video was on all of the time, and it just was every place in 1984.
It was a good song.
It's a really good song. That's right. And because this is the kind of shit I do, I figured if I ever needed to, I should probably know the phone number. So I memorized the phone number because it's on the TV, right?
Yeah.
So do you know how to call Ghostbusters?
You texted me the number, but who memorizes phone numbers anymore?
555-2368.
Nice.
That is how you call the Ghostbusters.
Have you called this number?
I have not, because 555 is not a real number. So like I don't, it's a movie number.
I just remembered too, when I first heard the song, pardon the long explanation.
I just explained Columbia House and BMG Music to you so I could tell you about her boob. So take a long explanation.
It's fine. Yours is more concrete. I'm basing mine off of, there was an old VHS recording that I used to watch every Halloween. Mm-hmm. Again, it was something that was taped from the TV, like we used to do, children. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it was. It was like an evening of Halloween songs set to like Disney tracks or Disney cartoons in the background.
Gotcha.
Or like, like a ton of songs that had nothing to do with Disney, but they had scary moments from Disney movies or Disney related films in the background of all of them. And of course, Ghostbusters was one of them. And I'm like, that's totally where I first heard it.
Interesting. What percentage of that video was the witch from Sleeping Beauty?
Oh, a lot.
Because for me, it would be like 98% of it.
Well, I remember there was one song that sticks out as well as Ghostbusters was some song called You Better Run, You Better Hide. And it was just the entirety of Snow White's run in the woods when she's seeing all the creepy creatures and things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I bet that sounds creepy, like in a good way.
It was, I mean, I think had they picked a less awesome song, it would have been more scary, but like I was just thinking, cool. Like, when you're a kid and you're running around and imitating things, like, I'd be playing Snow White and hearing that song. It's good times.
Did you ever, speaking of cartoons that scared the shit out of me, did you ever see the Peter and the Wolf?
Yes, in school. So for some reason, I don't remember it as well.
It's a Disney cartoon of it.
The do 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 do. Okay.
Yeah, that scared me. It just the whole thing creeped me out. Just thinking about it now creeps me out.
Because you were afraid that if you lied, what you were afraid that one of your jokes would come back to haunt you one day?
No. Because Peter and the Wolf, he's not the boy who cried wolf. It's a different story.
I forgot.
He's out in the woods and there's a wolf and it's tracking him and maybe it kills his little Russian bird friend Sasha.
Oh.
And and like the do 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 do, like some of the music is very heavy and dark. And that one creeped me out. Like it still creeps me out a little bit on the inside when I think about it.
Of course.
So yeah, I was sort of putting that feeling on top of the Snow White running through to scary Halloween music thing.
The scene without the cool rock music is very scary.
Okay.
You know, back when Disney movies were scary.
Like Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
Oh my God.
It's very scary. It's rated R, you know.
Return to Oz is pretty creepy and scary.
I don't think I ever saw Return to Oz.
Oh man, if we found a reason to watch that, that'd be amazing. I just need you to experience the Wheelers for the first time.
The Wheelers. We'll put it on if we can find out a way to shoehorn it in, we'll shoehorn it in.
It's your grandmother's Oz, kid.
Okay. Let's have some what else time. What else you got?
Looking at my notes. I mean, there's some pretty big religious themes in this. Again, with the end of days, which I feel like a lot of, I can't think of other examples of this just now because unfortunately a lot of my neurons are in tissues on the floor.
Yep, booger brain.
But I feel like a lot of times when you add fantastical elements into a real world scenario, and I say fantastical lightly, I have no opinions on ghosts either way. I haven't experienced it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'll leave that up for other people. But you know, it's treated like a fantasy thing. So I feel like when you have those two things together, there's always a religious component added in. Like, well, if these two things are meeting, it must be the end of days.
Right. Yeah.
Which you kind of get that same thing from the Ten Commandments, in a way.
Yeah.
And that is a religious story, but still.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, Mr. Stay Puft steps on a church.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody steps on a church in my town. And, you know, and then, you know, when they go to the mayor's office and the cardinal comes in, you know, Mike, he says, officially the church can't take up a position here, but personally, I think this is an act of God, but don't quote me on that.
I thought that was
I think that's a good move, Mike. And that's one of the, like, the Bill Murray. I think that's a good move, Mike. Like, just those little asides.
Yeah.
They call it Mike. You, Lenny, will have saved the lives of millions of registered voters. Well, and it's not just, and the religious stuff is, it's what turns the tide.
Yes.
Right? We're heading for an event of biblical proportions. Biblical? What do you mean biblical? I'm talking about Old Testament, Mr. Mayor. Real wrath of God's type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling. 40 years of darkness. Earthquakes. Volcanoes. Human sacrifice. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. And it's not until they get to the religion that they're able to convince the mayor. Because the interesting thing, I think, about this, a little bit about the, you brought up, like, sort of the fantastical and the religious and the real world, but it also, it's pitting more than that against each other.
Yeah.
It's pitting religion against science, and it's pitting faith and the government. Because who's the bad guy in the movie?
The government.
The EPA. The Environmental Protection Agency.
Damn.
Is the bad guys in this movie, which is maybe the most 80s thing possible. Like, in the Reagan era, the EPA has to be the bad guy.
That's so sad.
Like, in a lot of movies, you would want, like, the guy taking care of the environment to be a voice of reason. But Mr. Pecker, the guy who has no dick, he
over here.
Yeah, he's a real asshole, and it's because he's trying to protect the environment.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, but tell him about the Twinkie.
That's a big Twinkie.
That's a big Twinkie. I think, there's also a dig at big fat American consumer culture with a Twinkie that size.
Oof.
And who's the other bad guy? A marshmallow man.
Oh, yeah.
Our own addiction to sugar is the problem, America.
Damn, the
That's
layers.
What this trying to say. And then when they open the refrigerator door, the only product you can see clearly at sponsored content? 2 cans of Coke.
Wow. I just remember seeing a lot of, like, fruits and vegetables, I think. Or condiments. Yeah.
But there's 2 cans of Coke right there on the top shelf.
Of course.
So, yeah, very big product placement.
Shout out to Don Draper.
That's right. So here's the other thing that's funny about Afterlife is there are signs for Stay Puft Marshmallows, which means that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Company survived this. Like, as a brand, how do you survive your mascot stepping on a church?
That is pretty impressive. Do we know what kind of church it was?
I think it's a Catholic church. I've seen that church because I've been to Dana Barrett's apartment building.
Nice.
Yeah, and
you knew all this when you visited?
Not the last time.
Oh, okay.
The first time, I think. Yeah. And that's actually that's one of my what else's are the locations in this movie that I've been to.
Ooh.
So, of course, I have been to the main branch of the New York Public Library on 5th Avenue. We went there specifically for Ghostbusters.
Of course.
Like, what are you going to do? You have to do that when you go to New York. We didn't go to the firehouse, although I did look up where it was. It was just like we weren't going to be near there, so we didn't do it.
Where is it?
It's been a long time. I don't remember. I think it's north of the park. I think, or really high, high up.
I've gone past it and haven't even noticed.
Yeah. It may not be north of the park. It may be like in the 90s to the 120s, somewhere in there. But I have been to Dana Barrett's apartment, which is like Central Park West. It's right there. The top half of her building is a matte painting. So in real life, it's much shorter. It doesn't tower up that way.
Yeah. No, that part looks very added.
It is. It is very added. So maybe the superintendent not quite so pissed. But we also, when we went to LA last year, we were just going around places, and we went into a hotel that is in the beginning of Beverly Hills Cop, where Axel Foley's checking in and pretending to be the reporter from Rolling Stone who's going to do the story on Michael Jackson. So we found out where that was, and so we went to that hotel, and we were like, in that lobby. But we didn't go in that way. Like we parked our car and we were walking in the building at like a little roundabout. And where we walked in was like hotel check-in. And we were looking around, and there's this really cool little room. And the guy by the door sees us, and we've got an 11-year-old with us at the time. And he's like, "You want to know something cool? Ghostbusters was shot in this room." And we were like, "What do you mean?" He said, "You know that scene with the chandelier where they trap the ghost? That was this room."
Oh.
Yeah. And so the like, if you watch that scene again, when you see the shot of the lawn with the wall that has like the bar in front of it and the mirror behind it, that's check-in.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's the front desk for the hotel room. But it has this very cool ceiling, which is, I think, why they wanted to use that space. And at the other end of that room, which you can't really see in the movie, is it's a door to like a little like private little room. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of that is like a little, almost like a speakeasy kind of bar.
Oh.
And in that room is where the Oscars were invented.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like, this was where like these studio bigwigs would get together and have drinks and stuff. And like where the actual statue of the Oscar was drawn on a napkin was in this little room.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's right there in the ballroom where they catch Slimer.
It's my new goal this year to start taking more advantage of where I live and going to more sites, because I constantly forget that I am in a place that has a lot of history, which
sounds especially nice. Film history.
Well, yeah. So that's one of the goals.
It's a good one. There's a lot of fun stuff to visit. I mean, we last time we were there, we went to the Arconia, where for Only Murders. And, you can pick and choose. You can, God, whatever, But I didn't expect to be in Los Angeles and end up in the hotel from Ghostbusters. Like, I just didn't. I figured it was all shot in New York, but clearly not.
No, so many crazy logistics that we.
But I mean, the exteriors and stuff. I mean, all the exteriors were in Tavern on the Green, which we didn't go to, but I know where it is. That's sort of the whole point. I
passed it once. It's, again, you go every time you go through Central Park, it's a new route. Like, I know I've passed it and messaged my mom like, "Oh, hey, there it is," because Regis and Kathy Lee, or maybe just Regis, would always go there. So that's how she knows it.
I'm out of control. Come with me, Joy.
Aw, R.I.P.
I know it. So I do have one other what else.
Okay.
And that what else you alluded to earlier in the episode, but my what else is give Harold Ramis his flowers.
Oh, yes.
Because not only did he star in this movie, not only did he write this movie, he also, like, I don't know how familiar you are with the total tonnage of Harold Ramis works from the 80s and 90s, not as an actor, but as a writer and a director.
Oh, wow.
Listen to this. All right. So he directed Caddyshack.
Yes.
Vacation.
Okay.
Groundhog Day.
Oh.
Yeah. Multiplicity.
Okay.
Analyze This.
Which was
but like that was massive. Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro, like that thing was huge. And then analyze that, whatever. But Caddyshack, Vacation, Groundhog Day, analyze this. Like those are heavy, like heavy comedy masterpieces. And here's what he wrote, just in case you thought he wasn't busy. He wrote Animal House. Wow. He wrote Meatballs, Caddyshack, Stripes, Ghostbusters, Back to School, Armed and Dangerous, Caddyshack 2, Ghostbusters 2, Groundhog Day, analyze this, analyze that. I mean, this guy, he did some great stuff.
Yes, like, he did.
And he's, if you only think of him as Egon or as, Bill Murray's sidekick in Stripes, you only, his on-screen is like the sidekick guy. But he's the guy behind the scenes, and he did all of this stuff. Plus, I think my father-in-law met him.
I blame myself.
So do I.
I loved him so much.
Yeah, he's great in this.
He directed a lot of The Office episodes, too.
He did. Yeah, he did direct a lot of Office episodes. I was just looking at movies, but yeah, that's true.
No, I know.
Yeah. So props to Harold Ramis. And the Harold Ramis of it all is part of the reason that Afterlife works so well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, they find a way to connect him to that movie that in a way that I like quite a bit, even though he's been gone for 10 years now. So,
wow.
R.I.P. Egon. You know what this reminds me of? That time you tried to drill a hole in your head? That would have worked, too, if you hadn't stopped me.
And I love his relationship with Annie Potts' character.
Yeah.
Like, they're such two delightful weirdos.
I collect spores, molds, and fungus. Yeah. It's, he's so, I quote a lot of, I quote lines from this movie all of the time, but, and I do it almost without even knowing I'm doing it. Like, it's okay, Ray, the table broke the fall, constantly.
Yeah.
Anytime anyone says that they, like, anyone gives me an uh-oh, what did you do, Ray? Oh, shit. Like, almost every time. Like, these things are part of how I talk. Like, I'm not even making a reference anymore. I'm just saying these words that I know in my soul. And I forgot that I used to do this, although I just haven't had a chance to do it in a long time. But every time I see a horse-drawn carriage, I go up to the horse and say, I'm Vince Clortho, Keymaster of Gozer, Vogel Sildor, Lord of the Sebelia. Are you the gatekeeper?
You must have been doing that a lot around Central Park.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I don't do it every horse.
Oh, okay.
It's like because I'd get tired of myself if I did that.
Are you banned from the Derby now?
For much different reasons.
This man is harassing horses. They need to focus. Maybe take their drugs.
Yeah, well, you gotta have your drugs. So
I started quoting the Muppet movie around Walter because he's seen it now. But then he'll be like, "Huh?" And I go, "You've watched this?" And he went, "I don't have it memorized." And I went, "I did after one viewing."
That's right. You just got to keep doing it, and then it gets in there. Muppet movie, Ghostbusters, all of it. The more you can quote it. What? I didn't hear what you said.
Yes.
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 Myth. Yeah. Okay. So what is this the EST of for you?
I feel like this has got to be like the movie with the most one-liners.
It's really up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty great. What I always used to say about this movie was much funnier when there were only two of them. Oh. But it's still true that this is the best movie ever about busting ghosts. And Ghostbusters 2 is still the worst movie about busting ghosts.
Yeah,
But
I have not seen it.
Ghostbusters 2 has two things to commend it. One, there's one joke in the courtroom scene where for some reason Lewis is an attorney. I don't understand.
Okay.
And he said, okay, sure. The blackout was a big problem for all of us. I mean, I was stuck on the George Washington Bridge and I had to make for 45 minutes and I had to make the whole time. But I don't blame these guys because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. That's the one part of that movie that makes me laugh. And then the other thing to commend it is, and I can't think of another reason why I would be able to shoehorn this in here, but I kind of have to. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. They're called the Ghostbusters and they're in control. Had them throwing a party for a bunch of children. Well, all the while the slime was under the building, so they packed up, regrouped, got a grip, came equipped, put the proton packs on their backs and they split. Found out about Vigo, the master of evil. Try to battle my boys. It's not legal. You know it. They're in control. That's right. In Control by Bobby Brown. Ghostbusters 2 theme song. It's the only part you need to know about Ghostbusters 2.
Okay,
and Janosch, I guess. Yeah, Janosch is pretty okay. But this is the best movie ever about busting ghosts. And I know that you don't agree.
That's okay. I can be wrong. But Lady Ghostbusters makes me happy. So
yeah, so tell me a little bit about why you like that one better. Is it just the lady parts? Lady parts.
I don't think so. I mean, I love Leslie Jones. I love Kate McKinnon. So like these, I don't know. These are comedians that I'm like that I've followed more, and I like and know their work more. I feel like we get more of a backstory with some of the characters and their relationship. I liked the fact that Kristen Wiig's character and Melissa McCarthy, they're the kind of Venkman and Ray of the group. So they're old friends, and they have these various asides where they kind of go off on, I have no better way to describe it, what I would say like a girly tangent where you kind of go off on a different conversation and go, wait, you did that? No, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it, and I loved that because I thought again, it was just like, oh, this is how a lot of women talk to each other, or like we get, even though it's a serious moment and we need to be professional, we're going to have a moment over here because this is my best friend. So just little things like that. I love Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones, and it made me laugh more.
That's totally fair. And I think that's interesting because I think that's what this movie is doing, but just with a different energy.
Yeah.
And like they're constantly having those asides. Yes.
Like,
they're always making side comments to each other in the middle of, even the serious stuff in this movie is given the, oh, I forgot to tell you, don't cross the streams.
Yeah.
Why? It would be bad. Okay, I'm fuzzy on the whole good bad thing.
Yeah.
And like even that is delivered, and then he gives like the whole answer, right? Imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule at your body expanding at the speed of light. Total protonic reversal. That's bad. Okay, important safety tip. Thanks, Egon. Which is another thing I use all the time. Yeah. But like
with me.
I did. They have those kind of asides. And the women do the same thing, but with a different energy and a different like rapport.
Yeah, and so I understand. No, I'm not going to give him that. Like when people were getting mad, like
it's fucking stupid.
It was very stupid. Like, of course, it's not going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Lady Ghostbusters needed to be, and it won't be, but I think it needed to be the last of we're going to do a female version of this movie, or we're going to do
right.
an all this or all that. Anything but white men. Like,
right.
Okay, great idea, but how about we just write something new altogether?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the problem with that, and you know it, is that they like IP. It's, you have to have the IP in order to sell it. So you have to take that fresh idea you have and cram it into a box that already exists.
So, like, did they lure me in the way that they hoped by, like, just going women? I said,
right.
Absolutely, I'm there.
Yeah.
And then I ended up, like, really enjoying it more than the original. Don't come for me. It's just an opinion. It's not going to hurt you or tarnish the original film. It still exists. Right. Bill Murray certainly doesn't care what I think.
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, it's I'm glad that it's out there for people who love it. I liked it. I thought it was like, here's the thing about that movie. It was funny.
Yeah.
It was good. This is a top 5 comedy of all time. Like, it's really hard to get better than that.
Like, it was a bold move.
Yeah. And it works. It's really good. It's just, for me, not as good as one of the 5 funniest movies ever made. That's not exactly an insult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, somebody was saying about Treme, which was the show that David Simon did on HBO after The Wire.
Okay.
And it's about New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and it's a really good show. But it's not as good as The Wire. But The Wire is maybe like the best show ever.
That's what I
so it's like, oh, this thing you made isn't as good as the other thing you made that is maybe better than everything else that's ever existed. Shame on you for not doing better. Like, there was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
To like this Ghostbusters thing. Like, it's really good. It's not an insult to say that it's not as good as this thing that is, like, again, to me, top 5 comedy of all time.
For sure. And I would, just from reading Leslie Jones's book, I would almost wager that a lot of people involved probably felt like it wasn't really worth it for them because of all the harassment they got, which was
not surprised.
Stupid. Like, yeah. I hate that so much. I hate that even, like, voicing my opinion on it makes me nervous, but, like,
it's real stupid.
It's so stupid.
In one respect, I love fan culture, right? Yeah. Because it's why we're doing this, because we're fans of things. We like talking about movies. Movies are great. 90210 is a fun thing to be a fan of, even if it's really dumb sometimes. Yeah. And, like, I don't know if you've ever gone to a con, but, like, those kind of, they're fun. They're people there sharing a love of a thing. And it's great. It's not pure because it's fucking commerce, but
yeah,
it's great. But there's just a toxicity to fan culture that can be just real gross.
Yeah.
And when it comes to stuff like, you can't put lady parts in my Ghostbusters, you've ruined it. Fuck all the way off with that shit. Like, it's awful. Why torture these actresses? Right. First of all, like, they just want to make a funny movie. I'm sorry they tried to make you laugh, asshole. Like, leave them alone. But also, let the people who like it. And it does, again, as you said, it doesn't make this one not exist.
Exactly. This one will always be the original.
Yep. And it will always be as funny as it is.
Yes.
Whether there's a lady version of it or not.
Yeah.
Like, all these things can exist at the same time, and that's what's great. Right. But you don't have to, don't make people eat shit because everyone gets to like what they like.
Yeah.
That's
the beauty of the world we live in. You can like what you like. Chances are, if you don't like it, there's another version of it that you will like.
Yes. Yes. I don't have a tattoo. If I did, it would probably say everyone gets to like what they like. Like, if That is my operating ethos. You get to like what you like.
Yeah.
I didn't used to be that way. I used to be real pushy about the things that I thought about.
But isn't it so much more relaxing when you're not? Because like
it is, it's way more fun because I'm not any less passionate about the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
But you can like what you like, unless what you like is Kentucky basketball. Then go fuck yourself. Everything else we're good.
Some people just really love burning couches.
You know what? If you like burning couches, and do that. I don't recommend breathing it in.
I feel like Kentucky fans would do well with Philadelphia fans, because don't they get insane too?
They kind of do. Philly fans are their own. I mean, they booed Santa.
Oh my god!
You know, they Philly fans pelted Santa with snowballs. Philly fans are a special breed.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
Yep. But even that kind of madness, I kind of enjoy. Anyway, neither here nor there.
Nope.
All right, so I think we have once again proven my theory that everything comes back to Aaron Spelling. Even Ghostbusters. So, join us next week, Cheesemeisters, when You know what? It's not a worry, but you know what? Like, gives me pause about this. Isn't this movie like 3 hours long?
Yeah, I told you. I just texted you. I said it's going to be a really weird sensory deprivation thing for me when I don't switch the discs for this upcoming film we're about to watch, because we used to have things, if it was very long, on multiple discs.
Yeah. JFK was on 2 tapes. Gone with the Wind. Yeah, Gone with the Wind was on 2 tapes.
Had that. Titanic.
Titanic, 2 tapes. Fucking Pearl Harbor, 2 tapes. All right, so in conjunction with the next 50 years, where they dig up a time capsule that was buried the night that Pearl Harbor was bombed, apparently, in West Beverly. We're watching Pearl Harbor, and I've never seen this movie, and there's a reason I've never seen this movie, because my impression is that it's just not good, and Leslie's very excited for me to have to watch this movie, which means that I'm pretty sure it's not good.
It's not. I haven't watched this movie in so long.
We're gonna have fun talking about this movie, but 2.5 hours or whatever, that feels like a heavy lift for me. But maybe, you know what I will do? Maybe I'll record this 2.5 hour movie and I'll play it back at double speed and get a great workout.
Oh my god, no! Because then the actual attack is gonna be like, you can't watch that at double speed.
I don't know. That's how Lewis gets a good workout. Maybe that's how I watch this movie.
I will be very keen to hear what you dislike more, Romeo and Juliet or
this.
Harbor. There is splashing and screaming.
Yeah, this is a Michael Bay movie.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I don't enjoy Michael Bay movies. We'll talk about it, but that Transformers thing was a whole fucking situation for me. So, Michael Bay. All right, so yeah, join us next week to hear how much I disliked Pearl Harbor.
Until then.
Yes, have some.
Cheers.